welcome to classic rock and country music, facts and trivia. Appreciate you being here. I hope you checked out our first episode on Buddy Holly. Today's episode will be on the king of rock and roll himself, Mr. Elvis Presley, a part one of two parts. Now, I want to forewarn you, in this video, pull no punches. Elvis did some bad things, as we all do. Do I think he has a lot laying at his own feet for a lot of his problems? Sure. Do I think Colonel Tom Parker and the people around him had a lot more to do with his downfall than he did? Yes. Anyway, in saying that, please take a look at this video, and like I say, there'll be a part two tomorrow. So check it out and let me know what you think. Here we go. According to the website BuzzFeed, Dr. Nick, who treated the singer in the late 1960s until his death in 1977, was implicated for providing Elvis with drugs and may have contributed to his tragic death. In 1980, Dr. Nick had his medical license suspended for prescribing mass quantities of uncontrolled substances. Turns out, in the last year and a half of Elvis's life, he was prescribed over 12,000 pills by Dr. Nick and would travel with 3 suitcases full of medication at all times. Dr. Nick insisted the pills were actually for Elvis's entire entourage and that he was clear of any wrongdoing. Dr. Nick later testified that he was willing to prescribe Presley whatever he wanted because he didn't want him to seek out drugs from other doctors or resort to buying drugs off the street. Now, while we all know Elvis is the king of rock and roll, he also starred in 31 movies and supposedly almost nabbed the lead in A Star Is Born alongside Barbra Streisand. After Streisand was cast, filmmakers discussed Elvis starring opposite her. Now, while Elvis was on the way to meet Streisand, she said she was so nervous that she started painting her nails. Once Elvis arrived, he took the nail polish and finished the job for her. Despite their chemistry, Elvis decided not to do the film. Some thought he felt the subject matter was too personal, while others believed he didn't want to star in a film where he was the second lead. Okay. In December 1957, Elvis announced that he had been drafted into the Army. His devastated fans wrote tens of thousands of letters to both the singer and the military, begging that Elvis be spared from military service. Now, despite the outcry, Elvis said he was willing to put his career on hold, telling the media it was his duty. I've got to fill in, and I'm going to do it. Elvis was adamant that he did not receive any special treatment because of his fame. The military agreed to give Elvis an 8-week deferment so that he could finish filming the movie King Creole because he was worried about how much money the filmmakers would stand to lose if he dropped out of the project. After filming wrapped, Elvis reported to basic training in 1958. He served for about 2 years and spent 18 months in Germany, where he was promoted to sergeant. Because Elvis left for service during the height of his fame, his record company is desperate for more Elvis content and worked to string together 4 albums of unreleased songs and song bites to saturate the public's Elvis obsession. One of the albums was even a recording of the press conference where he announced that he was going into the military. Once he returned to the United States, he was immediately forced back into the recording studio. He even had to record a new song on a train on his return trip home. His military service eventually inspired Bye Bye Birdie, the musical in which a beloved star is drafted into the Army. Elvis was even approached to star in the movie, but he declined because he said it felt like a parody of his own life. At the height of his fame, over 60,000 children a year were diagnosed with polio. When the polio vaccine was developed in 1965, many were skeptical to get it. The vaccination rates among teenagers at only 0.6%. In order to persuade people to get vaccinated, Elvis agreed to get his vaccine on live television during the Ed Sullivan Show. After getting his shot, teenage vaccinations rates went up to 80% in just 6 months. And throughout his entire career, Elvis only performed in North America and only performed outside of the United States 3 times, all for shows in Canada. This was apparently at the behest of Elvis manager Colonel Tom Parker. Parker, who was Dutch and was living in the United States illegally, he worried that if he left the United States for a show overseas, he wouldn't be allowed back in. Parker might have also had some more sinister reasons for refusing to leave. Some believe that he committed a gruesome murder in his hometown. But Parker, whose real name was suspected to be Andreas van Kulik, left home for America in 1929. There was an unexplained murder. A young woman working in a shop in the hometown of Breda in the Netherlands had been beaten to death and the store ransacked. There's an exact evidence that pinpoints Parker as the killer. Some in his inner circle believe it was the real reason why he was so hesitant to leave the United States. Now, despite the fact that Elvis was one of the most beloved stars of his time, he still had his fair share of haters. Parker decided he was going to manufacture "I Hate Elvis" buttons to sell in order to make money off the people who refused to buy the pro-Elvis merchandise. Graceland, Elvis' Memphis estate, was actually one of the first big-ticket items he bought after becoming famous. Purchased the home for $100,000 in 1957, just 1 year after hitting it big. He was 22 years old. He lived at Graceland until his death and asked his parents to move in with him. He even recorded his final songs in the infamous Jungle Room, a den decked out in jungle-themed decor where he supposedly spent most of his time because it reminded him of Hawaii. After his death, Priscilla became the executor of the estate until Elvis' only daughter, Lisa Marie, was old enough to inherit it. Elvis' first television appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show made history for several reasons. Besides being one of the first time the King's signature dance moves were on display, it also marked the largest share of people tune into the same show in American history. 82.6% of all Americans with televisions were watching Presley make his hip-swinging debut, a television share that has never been beaten. The next time Presley appeared on the show, camera operators were instructed to keep the camera above his hips to prevent viewers from seeing his vulgar dance moves. While stationed in Germany, Elvis met Priscilla Beaulieu, who was 14 years old, and fell for her. The pair dated for 7 years, with Priscilla moving to Memphis to finish high school. After meeting Priscilla, he reportedly told a friend that she was young enough that I can train her any way I want. Elvis refused to look at her unless she was wearing makeup, and would not have sex with her for years after she gave birth, telling her he had never been able to make love to a woman who's had a child. The pair married after being together for 7 years, but eventually divorced after Priscilla decided that she was tired of being Elvis's living doll. Priscilla was just one of the many young women Elvis had a thing for. While dating Priscilla, Elvis said he valued her purity and refused to sleep with her until they were married. Instead, he slept with other women while Priscilla waited at home. While on tour, he would often handpick teenage girls he wanted to sleep with. After he and Priscilla divorced in 1972, Elvis dated a string of teenage girls before meeting Ginger Alden, a 21-year-old former beauty queen. In her memoir, Alden recalls Presley shooting the headboard of her bed with a pistol while she was sleeping because she had refused to bring him more yogurt earlier that day. Now, I know some of that was harsh. That's why I gave you a forewarning. And there is more to come tomorrow, but I want to know what you think today. And if you would, please subscribe to this channel. Please share it out with your friends. Let's get subscriptions up quick. It's more fun for me to do this for a whole bunch of people rather than, just 20, 30 people. It makes me feel better about myself. Anyway, there's like I say, there's more to come. And there will be country acts as well. The reason I chose Buddy Holly and Elvis to begin with, well, the pioneers in rock and roll, but also pioneers in country music. That's right. So, don't forget about classic sitcoms, facts, and trivia. Check that out. And my other two channels, The Andy Griffith Show and The Beverly Hillbillies, Facts and Trivia. Appreciate you guys being here. Have a great day. God bless. I'll be praying for you.